Alright people, Mike Salden here again. Welcome back to some more Baldur's Gate 3. Uh, I left off the last time. I was just on the mountain pass on the way to the monastery to find the Githyanki Creche. So I just came back to camp and I spoke to a few people about what was going on. Of course, we ran into that wizard guy who told us Gale has this bomb inside him or whatever and he has to use it to blow up the Absolute. So I was just talking to Karlach about that because I hadn't spoke to her about it yet. And unsurprisingly, she thought that was a bad idea, and she's gonna talk some sense into Gale about doing it. But yeah, I'm gonna try to keep Gale alive if I can, just make Karlach happy if anything. But anyway, after that, I left camp and I made my way to the monastery. Really one of the most beautiful areas in the game so far. Even Lizelle had a little comment there on that cliff about not really stopping to take in views, but she's going to make an exception this time. When I was wandering around up here, I found this sort of older lady. She was complaining about the Githyanki throwing her out of their monastery because she wanted one of their eggs, because she wants to raise one herself to prove that if Githyanki is raised away from their own people, that they could be non-violent and non-hostile. It seemed like a bit of a weird idea, and I didn't really want to do it because Lizelle seemed to be against it, and I don't want her turning on me. So I kind of was non-committal about this. I didn't really give this old lady an answer. I think I just decided to trade with her rather than agreeing or not agreeing to bring her this egg. But I did keep it in my mind that if we found an egg, I might steal it if Lizelle isn't watching or something. But yeah, I didn't really trust that old lady, and giving her that egg, she's probably going to get hunted down by Githyanki or something if I give her an egg. That's what I was thinking, so I thought it would be probably best not to go after the egg. But things do take a bit of a turn when I do get to that point. But we'll just leave that until I get there. But yeah, let's just keep it in mind that old lady asked me to get her a Githyanki egg. It's also the first time I realized Githyanki laid eggs, and that's how they reproduce. So they're not mammals or whatever, they lay eggs. They're probably closer to reptiles or something. But yeah, anyway, this is the monastery. I made it down here. And I decided to go in through this sort of alternative path because the main entrance looked too conspicuous or whatever. Thought something bad would happen. Also, Karlach, she's been supersized because I made her drink a potion that gave her sort of this like giantism or whatever you would call it. I can't remember why I had her do that. I think it was actually an accident, or it was maybe to increase her strength to operate a wheel outside that summons like a transport that's supposed to take you up and down the cliff from the monastery. But I ended up didn't use that because I didn't trust it to like stay working or whatever. So yeah, Karlach is just supersized now for quite a while. I think she does more damage like this, and maybe she intimidates enemies a bit or something. She looks really badass when she's this massive, and we can sort of just send her into battle and really hang back and just let her wheel on everybody. My main battle strategy these days is just to sort of let everybody else hang back and buff Karlach, and maybe send Shadowheart in behind Karlach so she can stay close to her in order to cast some like healing magic on her or whatever. And Shadowheart's also quite powerful if she gets close to enemies. Like that inflict wounds spell, it's like really one of my best damage dealing abilities. If she gets lucky with it and does like a high amount of damage using like the level 3 version of it. But the trade-off is she has to be right next to the enemy to be able to touch them to do that spell. So she can't really inflict wounds on like an enemy who's really far away or whatever. And in order to get her up close to enemies, I need to send her after Karlach, and Karlach just acts like a big tank that just keeps everyone else away from Shadowheart, so that she can get close enough to like cast inflict wounds on people. And meanwhile, my character They just use their bardic abilities to give inspiration and to like maybe send an enemy into a laughing fit or something. Or Cloud of Daggers. I love casting Cloud of Daggers on people. It's really effective, and it's an area of an effect spell. It stays intact for quite a few turns, and if any enemies walk into it, they get damaged by it. So yeah, I love using that. And then like the third party member, who's usually either Lizelle or Astarion, they kind of just freestyle it. They just do whatever they can really. Astarion, I normally bring him instead of Lizelle because he's like my thief and lockpick expert. Um, he's really good at like opening doors and stuff and sneaking around the place. So that's usually why I bring Astarion, and he can also get some pretty good stealth attacks on people. You can make him go invisible. One of the abilities I've given him, and that can be pretty useful. And unfortunately, Gale and Will, they just sort of get left at the party camp because I don't really have a use for them unless I'm doing some like specific quest to do with magic. Then I'll bring Gale along because he usually has something to say about it. So anyway, inside the monastery, I found this big, strange room with all these altars and these glowing items on top, and this big stained glass window on the floor. It seemed like a big puzzle. It was giving me clues on where to place items on these altars. There was also this big door over here. I don't think I was supposed to open it yet, but I just used Shadowheart to like lockpick it, and we managed to get this crest item. I actually forgot who I gave the crest to, which became a problem later on. I forgot Shadowheart was the one who picked it up. But yeah, I do need that later on for this quest involving these altars. This is sort of a side quest to find the blood of Lannistar or something like that. I'm really bad at pronouncing all the names of the items in this game, but yeah, it's like a big special mace weapon that you probably do want to get because it seems really powerful. Um, so I had to go around and gather the items to place on this altar. The first one I went looking for, these eagles seem to be guarding it. I had the talk to animals spell active, so I was able to talk to them, and like I got some information that the eagle's very protective of its nest, and it really doesn't want me going near it. So I sort of left my character over here, and then I think I swapped to Lizelle because she has the most dexterity and is the sneakiest sort of character after Astarion that I have really. So I just walked her around there while the eagle had its back looking at my character, my main character and everything, and then I sort of just went invisible, snuck up to the hammer and just stole it like that, and really it was that simple. And I felt really proud that I'd worked that out, and that I didn't even need Astarion because usually when it comes to stealing stuff like that, I would just immediately swap back to the camp and go get Astarion because he has an invisibility, like a natural invisibility spell or cloaking spell or something like that. So I came back and I placed the like ceremonial hammer on one of these altars until it like lit up. I think it was just a complete guess here where I should put it. It actually was the right one. And then that left the other two. Had to go find those weapons next. I think it was a mace and an axe. I think I don't find them for a little while yet. Or actually, I found the next item behind this glowing door. It was quite easy to realize something was in here because it was glowing gold. I think I quite easily lockpicked that. And then we had to fight this like defensive. Or actually, before I could even walk in, there was a load of chairs or benches and stuff blocking us from getting in. So I just used Karlach to sort of beat her way through all these chairs and stuff. She's really quite strong, so she takes them down quite simply. And then she just walked in here. Again, it's really funny seeing her be so tall compared to everyone else. Um, so this Guardian of Faith was still in here. It had been summoned by one of the characters who probably was carrying the axe that we're here to steal. So as soon as we pick it up, the Guardian becomes hostile, really. I could have probably stealthed this a bit better and used Lysel's magic hand ability or whatever to manipulate the axe and wait outside while it brought it back to us. But the Guardian, he wasn't too hard to fight, so it wasn't too much of a disaster that he woke up or whatever. Lysel took quite a bit of damage, but she was the only one he seemed to notice, so everyone else was just sort of hiding over there. So I guess it was lucky that I put them all into stealth, and only Lysel took any damage there. She did get pretty beat up, but Shadowheart did her best to heal her. Um, well, at least I hope Shadowheart did her best. Of course, her and Lysel don't really get on. It would be funny if the game, like, they intentionally made Shadowheart heal Lysel less, unless you've got their approval rating higher or high enough that they like each other slightly, so that Shadowheart heals Lysel properly. I don't know if that's a thing, but I wouldn't put it past Larian if something like that was happening in the background of like the code, where Shadowheart, her chances of healing Lysel properly are lower than other party members or something. That would be pretty funny. And if anyone's gonna do like that sort of mechanic, uh, then I probably would be Larian. But again, I don't know if that's a thing, but it does sometimes feel like Shadowheart heals other people quicker compared to Lysel. So anyway, I wandered around the monastery for a while. I was looking for this final like ceremonial mace or whatever, and it didn't seem to be around anywhere up here. So I was pretty sure I would have to go find it down in the like main Githyanki Creche or whatever. But I still did my best to rob everything that was out here. And I decided to leave the mace until later. I actually didn't realize that I was walking past the room that had the mace in it. There's all these drunk, I'm not sure what they are exactly, but there's these drunk creatures raiding a wine cellar or storeroom or something like that. And I kind of just walked past them here when I was doing this stuff. So I just explored for a while longer, and then I went to the Githyanki Creche, because I found a big door that looked like it was going to lead down to like the main Githyanki area. So after I did some exploring around here, that's where I went next, and I decided I would come look for the mace and finish that quest line later. Of course, I went back to camp first, just to talk to Karlach again and speak to everyone and just get rested up before we went into the main Githyanki base, because I had a feeling they could turn hostile or something. Karlach had a big exclamation mark over her head when I went back to camp this time, and she was basically saying she could feel her engine malfunctioning again, and that we really need to catch up to Damon soon, so that we can like fix it or whatever. Um, uh, because yeah, she says it's breaking down again. We need to get a move on really. So I'm a bit worried about that. I'm hoping there's not an actual in-game time limit on curing Karlach or whatever, because that could be a problem. Because I like to take my time exploring and doing different stuff out in the world. So I found my way down to the Githyanki Creche. I had Lizelle do most of the talking because it's her people, and hopefully she'll be able to talk her way in here. They were all pretty hostile towards us, even though we had Lizelle. They didn't really trust her. So I think they somehow detected that we were infected with the mind flare right away, so they were pretty suspicious of us. And also, to be fair, the first thing I started doing was trying to steal stuff, even as Lizelle. I kind of like making Lizelle do it, just because it's her people, and I guess she'd be kind of it's kind of like she doesn't really like these people either. When we went to see the main captain, we figured out that Shadowheart is actually scared of wolves. So she had some dialogue here about, please don't make me fight wolves. I really don't like them at all. It seemed like a bit of a random fear for her to have, because wolves or canines or whatever. We have a dog back at the camp. I know wolves are quite a bit larger than dogs in this game and in real life as well, to be fair. But it just seemed a bit random that Shadowheart, of all the things she would be scared of, it's wolves. But they are quite giant here, so I can guess I can kind of understand it. But it seemed like it was telling us that it's going to be a weakness to have her in the party around here, because I was pretty sure the Githyanki, they were going to turn on me at some point because they really wanted this artifact I was carrying, and I didn't really want to give it up. And Lizelle had also previously said that one of their commanders was absolutely going to take us down if we hadn't talked our way out of it, and she seemed slightly taken back by that. But also it kind of just let me know that whatever happens here, I'm probably not going to side with the Githyanki. Even though I quite like Lizelle, even though she's very confrontational and sort of always is like a pain in the neck with the requests she has and stuff. She's always fighting with Shadowheart. But she's quite a capable warrior, and I would like to keep her in the party. But I did sort of know that I wasn't going to side with these Githyanki. So I tried to talk around this conversation where this guy, the main like Inquisitor or whatever, he really wanted the artifact. And I was trying to ask him like various other random questions, just to keep this conversation, just to sort of keep trying to dance around the topic. Um, I did something right because Karlach approved of me asking these questions. I guess she wasn't eager for him to get the artifact either. But eventually I did have to just give it to him because the other options were taken away. And it was just give it to him or refuse. So I decided I would give it over to him, just because Lizelle was here. And I actually wonder what happens if he leaves Lizelle back at camp. I refused to bow to the Queen or kneel to the Queen because my character, they're a bard, they're something of a like charlatan, and they don't really respect authority too much, especially monarchs, especially Githyanki monarchs, who they're not like even aligned to or whatever. They respect Tiefling authority, I guess, but I don't know if Tieflings have kings or queens. But eventually the Queen sort of talked us into going into this artifact, which will take us to like the astral realm or whatever, which is where our guardian, who's been talking to us on our dreams, has been hiding out. The Queen, she wants this guardian taken out because they're corrupting the artifact. Well, that's her story anyway. I didn't really believe it because the Githyanki, they seem to have their own agenda and like strange ideas, or whatever. And all my party members like Shadowheart and Karlach, they were like, this doesn't seem right. Seems like a bad idea. And only Lizelle, who's like deeply like religiously devoted to her queen or whatever, was saying that we have to do this. So I went along with it for now, but I was still pretty sure in the end I wasn't gonna side with the Githyanki, but they actually forced my hand against siding with them anyway. Because when we go in here and speak to the Guardian, they actually have some interesting things to tell us. So yeah, we get transported to the sort of astral realm, and this is where we've been coming in our dreams a few times to speak to the Guardian character we had to create. Again, I was pretty surprised back in the character creation menu when I found myself making this Guardian character as a second character. I was wondering if eventually we're going to play as them or they're going to join our party or whatever. It seemed kind of strange that we were making a second character, but I guess we'll see how it plays out. So I came over here, there was a lot of dead Githyanki laying around, so they'd clearly invaded this place on their own. And the artifact that we have clearly isn't the only way in here, but it might be the only way to properly access the Guardian or something. So I was just running around picking up stuff for a while, and then I came back to the main portal, and the Guardian was inviting us inside, but only us. They were telling our companions to stay outside. I said I wanted to bring them in, but they were like, "Nah, they gotta stay out there." And Karlach was like, "Well, if you shout for help, I'll charge in there right away." um, yeah, this is my Guardian. I made this ginger drow elf. I think they're a drow elf. Which might have been a mistake because apparently the drow elves in this game, they're all pretty evil, and most people don't like them. But maybe that adds a bit of drama to my Guardian. Um, they offer to like just let us attack them here because they know what we've been sent in here for, but they do keep telling us it's a bad idea or whatever. Um, and I was just trying to ask questions about what was going on here. And eventually I just decided, yeah, I'm not going to attack the Guardian, because what was the point of making the Guardian just to attack them the first proper meeting we have? It seemed kind of strange. Um, but maybe it'll bite me in the ass later that this Guardian's actually the real villain of the entire game or something. And they make you make your own villain at the very start. That would be pretty interesting and a funny twist. But yeah, I decided to keep the Guardian around, even though it was gonna piss off. Uh, it was gonna piss off the Queen and Lizelle or whatever. I was just like, I put in quite a bit of effort into making this Guardian. I'm not gonna like destroy them the first time I actually properly meet them. And I think it'll lead to more drama later by keeping the Guardian alive. So yeah, I just let them live. And on the way out, of course, Lizelle confronted us, and I told her that the Guardian like told us that your queen's gonna betray us, and as soon as we get out here, these guys have been ordered to take us down. So I just opened my mind to Lizelle. I think I saved first in case it was the wrong decision because I really wanted to keep Lizelle alive. Her approval went up, so I guess that was helpful. Um, because I didn't want her to turn on us, even if her Githyanki comrades, if they all turn on us. I still wanted Lizelle to be sort of on our side. Because I don't like taking any party members out of my party, because it's always better to have as many people as possible, I think, for the drama and all the different dialogue you can get them to do. Also, Lizelle is very useful in combat, it must be said. Like, she can jump further than anybody else and run pretty far. So I really want to keep her around. But when we came out here, this Inquisitor guy, he was like, well, it's time for you to die now. And they just launch into a battle against us right away. This was a pretty tough fight. I think I'm going to cut through most of it because it really did go on for a long time. And it was a lot of me just healing myself and buffing my character and slowly taking down the enemy's health. Um, I think I'll just show the start of it here or whatever. I have been cutting down a lot of the combat encounters just for these videos because they're not really meant to be every single second of what happened. Just sort of like a little diary for myself of my first Baldur's Gate playthrough. I just wanted to have like a record of how things went for me the first time I played it, and sort of do this little narration over the top of it. I don't know if a lot of people like this format or style that I'm going with, and I do set the footage to 2 times speed, just because a lot of the stuff that's going on, it is quite slow paced, and it's not really a let's play like a traditional let's play where other people that are watching this that I'm thinking they're following along with the storyline or whatever. It's just kind of letting people see a glimpse of what a person who'd never like played the game before did on their first blind playthrough, and showing sort of the main decisions and stuff that happened to me like that. Um, I might do other videos later on a second playthrough showing my like combat tactics and stuff, maybe some battles and stuff like that. But this first sort of set of videos, this was just sort of again like a video diary of what I did each play session and just how things went for me. And I just like recording this stuff and having it as a record of what happened. I've never really done a really long series like this for a game, and it's probably one of the longest games I could have chosen. So I am trying to cut down the videos. Really, if I left in everything I did in a PlayStation, the video would be like 2 or 3 hours long, and I sort of like to cut it down to about 40 to 50 minutes long, just because my internet uploading really long videos, it can be risky because my internet can break or stuff during the middle of it, and it can disrupt the upload, and then I have to start over again sometimes. If YouTube's messing around and they don't like pause your upload where the internet broke or whatever. But yeah, enough rambling about that. And back to what's going on here. Basically, I took down the Inquisitor and all his men, and I'm trying to talk some sense into Lizelle, but she's still sort of devout to the Queen, even though she's clearly just betrayed us. She's going on about, oh, it's clearly just a test from the Queen who secretly still loves me. I think we're going to have to talk some sense into her later. But at least Lizelle, she's on our side. She fought with us. On the way out of here, we got ambushed by the captain lady. She had her wolves out here. I was a bit worried about this because, of course, Shadowheart, she told us she's scared of wolves. And she does get, like, the fear debuff, I think, and drops her weapon and stuff. And it was a bit of a disaster, but again, I'm gonna skip through most of this fight because it was kind of slow. But don't worry, I did get through it pretty well. And Lizelle and Karlach, they didn't get struck with fear. I think it was my main character and Shadowheart, which is all right because Lizelle and Karlach are my like main damage dealers here. So it did take a little while to get over this bridge. Not as long as the fight with the Inquisitor, but I did get through it and took quite a bit of damage. And it could have went badly. Like I think my main character went down there, or was that Lizelle actually, or maybe it was Shadowheart. Um, yeah, my character dropped their sword because they had the fear effect, so I had to pick my sword back up. I was just making sure their gear was all still here and they didn't drop anything else. So yeah, after that I made my way to the infirmary in the Creche. I think you were actually supposed to come here to the infirmary and look for your cure before doing the stuff that I did with the Queen or whatever. And I kind of did this out of order, so when I got here, these guys were all hostile, like the doctor and all the people in here. I just had to fight them all. And it was a bit of a mess. But thankfully, Lizelle, like again, she didn't disapprove of this and like go crazy or anything and start attacking me. But it was just a bit. It did feel a bit messy that I was having to fight all these doctors and stuff, and it kind of was ruining the quest of get a cure from the Githyanki Creche or whatever. Although at this point I was pretty sure there was no cure gonna come from the Githyanki because of how their leadership had treated us, and like they just betrayed us and instantly. And to be fair, I was planning to betray them no matter what happened in here, really, because I was aware they wanted the artifact from our other meeting where the dragon showed up and roasted those guys at the bridge. And I was pretty sure they were probably going to try to take down our character and the party. But yeah, eventually we found this like big chair which can apparently cure us of the mind flayer parasite or purify us. Lizelle insisted on being the one to get to use it because it's her right as a Githyanki or whatever. But the mind flayer parasite, it was kind of telling us that she's gonna die during this. So it could have been lying to save itself, but also I just thought that Lizelle was in danger. So I managed to pass this big like skill check here, level 30 skill check, and I saved Lizelle. And Shadowheart actually approved of this, which was kind of strange. And Karlach also approved, really. and Lizelle was kind of, she was relieved really because oh yeah, she had a speech mark over her head again, so she was really angry. She'd followed the protocol, done everything, and this chair seemed like it was gonna destroy her or whatever, and she was having a hard time taking it in. But again, it was just another way of us quickly convincing her that the Githyanki don't really care about her anymore, or they at least suspect that she's been corrupted or whatever, and they don't really trust her, and that she should probably start fighting with us properly and staying on our side more and just give up all this foolish stuff about following the Queen, because the Queen's quite clearly out for herself. I tried to use this talk to the dead spell on this doctor figure just to see if they had anything to say to us about the parasite, but they didn't, and Lizelle disapproved of us trying to use the scroll. That was pretty funny. So next I came into the hatchery where the Githyanki eggs are supposed to be stored, and we got ambushed by some like matrons or whatever you would call them who are like watching over the eggs. And Lizelle made a comment that there should be at least like 15 eggs in here, and it's really strange that it's so empty. So I'm not sure what's going on there. If there's a note around that explains that all the eggs, what happened to them, maybe something bad's been going on. And I decided at this point, because the Creche had turned on me and everyone had really attacked me, that it was probably okay if I take this egg with me. Um, I was pretty sure I wasn't going to give it to the old lady on the cliff, because it just seemed like a bad idea to give this old woman, who I know nothing about, this like basically a child's life. Even if it is a Githyanki who are kind of assholes. But I didn't want to leave the egg here with all these like half massacred Githyanki. Um, and I thought it would. Now that I'd seen what Githyanki really are like, they are real. They are really warlike and devoted to this queen and this entire regime. And if you basically don't become a soldier and fight for the queen, probably something bad's gonna happen to you. And I thought maybe we could take this egg, and at some point, if I just hold on to it, maybe Lizelle will want to take the egg, and like maybe she'll adopt this child or something. And I just thought that would be cool. And I thought if I gave the egg to the old woman on the cliff, like she might disappear and we won't see her again. But although if it follows the pattern of a lot of these side quests, when you help someone early on, they're usually like, and I'll see you later in Baldur's Gate. And so when we eventually get to the Baldur's Gate, like the main city of Baldur's Gate, maybe we would find her there again, and the egg will have hatched or something. But maybe Githyanki babies are like really dangerous or something, and they just attack people around them who aren't Githyanki, and we might like show up at this old lady's house in Baldur's Gate and just find that she's dead in there and this Githyanki baby's in there just eating her or something. Um, and I know maybe Githyanki babies are normal, but what are all these cages doing in here and stuff? I guess it was to trap prisoners, because my character, or Lizelle, even when they jumped over there to grab the egg, they like stepped in a portal or something and kept getting like transported back to these cages. So actually, I guess that's what they were there for, and not to keep the Githyanki wild children in them or whatever. So I just spoke to Lizelle here, hoping I would be able to hand over the egg or whatever, but instead she just had some dialogue about how Githyanki reproduce and why they lay eggs and stuff. And it was really quite interesting lore, and it reminded me a little bit of the Asari in Mass Effect and Liara. And when in the first game, when Shepard can just ask her about the entire like history of her people and all these really personal questions, just a bit of a lore dump. It's always quite funny when that happens. But at least it didn't happen in the first 5 minutes of meeting Lizelle. and it actually occurred in a place where it made sense for it to occur because we're rescuing a Githyanki egg, and it's just natural for that conversation to come up. So it actually is like way better placed than it was in Mass Effect, where you just start talking to Liara whenever you first recruit her in her little office, and you can just go straight into these kind of all these entire topics about the history of the Asari or whatever. And it's good that games and RPGs have just gotten better at delivering these sort of lore dumps, or at least in this specific case with Lysel and Githyanki eggs and reproduction and stuff. It was when we were on a quest to find a Githyanki egg. But eventually I did escape the Creche, and I came back to find this last golden mace or whatever, ceremonial mace, so I could leave it on that final altar and hopefully find this blood of Lannistar or something like that. I accidentally left Lizelle behind. I split her from the party by mistake, so she was stuck down in the hatchery while this fight was going on. I swapped to her because I was like, why am I only swapping between Karlach, Shadowheart, and my main character? Where's Lizelle? So I swapped to her to see where she was, and then, yeah, of course, she somehow had been left behind, which was pretty funny, but also kind of annoying, because now I've only got 3 characters to fight all these drunken, I'm actually not sure what these are called, kobolds or something like that. They were in this wine cellar, just drinking all the wine. So I think they are debuffed, or at least some of them are, that they were debuffed with a drunkenness debuff or whatever. They weren't too hard to get through, and I took them down quite easily. But it was a shame that Lizelle wasn't here, and we could have sped it up even more. So I was looking around in here, because it was the one area that I hadn't been to yet in the what would you call it, the monastery, and I was thinking that must be where the final mace is or whatever, because it's like the one room I didn't go into. I somehow like walked past it. So I think I was running around trying to figure out where Lizelle was, and trying to regroup with Lizelle. Let's see, did I swap back to her or group her back up with us? But anyway, I found the mace on one of the kobold's bodies, and I placed it on the final altar. I was expecting something to happen in here, but that wasn't the case really. So that actually opened. That was actually supposed to open the door that I lockpicked, I think, and I'd already done that part. So I was a bit confused what was going on here. But I soon figured out that I had to go back to where Lizelle was, back down in the Githyanki Creche. I think I eventually swap back to her, because I was running around here a bit confused of like, what did this open, or what was this supposed to open? And then I remembered that I'd already lockpicked that door and stolen that like symbol thing that Shadowheart had. So yeah, I was just looking now for the symbol, because I couldn't remember who had it, or what I'd done with it really, or what it was classed as. Because I eventually found this statue here, which had something to do with the dawn. It was like had little plaques that read something about the dawn star or whatever. But this one statue was kind of stuck, and I was trying everything to get it to just move. Because it said something about the mechanism was a bit rusty, and I thought that just meant, okay, I've got to hit it a few times. So I was trying to hit it as Shadowheart. I was looking around for any grease or anything to throw on it, hitting it with fireballs, and then what worked was just changing the Karlach and hitting it a lot harder with a harder ability. And then I faced this statue that way, and then I think I had to turn this statue around a few times. Oh yeah, I had to turn it one more time, and then did I have to turn this statue that way? There we go. And then this opened this secret passage. So I was actually getting somewhere now. And there was like a sort of quite a few trials you had to pass to get through these different doors. Like you had to destroy these different energy crystals. It took me a little while to figure out what I was doing. And then I realized there was a path around this door that you could sneak around, and then you could destroy this crystal here. Wasn't really too necessary to destroy that one because I'd already got around the door. And then there was this trap to disarm. So things have got a bit Indiana Jones here, where we're looking for like this secret artifact underneath a monastery or whatever. It was pretty cool feeling going and finding all these clues and just doing all this work for this artifact. I think I didn't have to do the bit with the placing the weapons in the altar because I'd already lockpicked the door, but I didn't know that yet, so I kind of just did it anyway. And then I made it into this main chamber where the mace is just waiting for us. But of course, you have to insert. You have to insert the symbol that we picked up off the or that we stole from that door that I'd opened, and I couldn't figure out who had it because I'd forgotten that Shadowheart was the one who picked it up. So I was here for quite a while, trying to look through all this stuff. And it took me ages to figure out. Oh yeah, I gave that thing to Shadowheart. She was the one who lockpicked that door. Because I knew what I was looking for. It was the Dawn Crest or something like that. But I couldn't remember. Is it a camp supply? Is it a weapon? Is it a scroll? How is it supposed to be listed? I wish there was like a search function where you could start typing in a word into your inventory, and then it would highlight anything that's like is. And then I eventually found the Dawnstar Crest in Shadowheart's inventory, and I was like, oh yeah, she picked that up. So you have to be careful, or your inventory can really get overwhelmed with like random stuff. But yeah, this is where I'm gonna end this video today, where I just recovered this Lannister mace or whatever I'm just gonna call it. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next time with more Baldur's Gate.